How should you not protect your sports card? Okay, so often we're told what you should do, but these are things that you should not do. And then I'll go over the things you should do. Number one, you should not get your sports card like this and put it directly into any type of protected casing such as this here, right? You can see this. You never want to get this directly and just put this into a case like that by itself to look like that. Now, while that may look right, you're missing something really crucial. First step, you want to make sure that this has a penny sleeve. This is a penny sleeve here. You can see that thin protective coating. That is a penny sleeve. And if you want, just so if you get new penny sleeves and it's real tight, what you can do, you can just get a pair of scissors and just do a nice little cut right there, right around the edge, something like that, just because it gives it a little more wiggle room. And then from there, you can go ahead and slide your card in there real nice and real easy, just like that. Now, you don't have to do the cut. I actually saw someone do that before they submit the cards to a company called PSA for grading, and they do that before they put it into a protective casing. But you don't have to do the cut, but this is a penny sleeve. It's this thin layer here. You want to put your cards in there. And when you get them, kind of loosen them up a bit. You never want to be at a point where you're cramming the card in, because if you can damage your edge, you can destroy a lot of the value of the card. You know, cards that are 8s and 9s are worth significantly less than cards that are 10s. It could be the difference of hundreds, if not thousands of dollars just from something as a corner being a little damaged. So you want to make sure that you're being real careful here when you're putting your card into its protective casing. All right, so we got it there like that. Then what you want to do, or what you don't want to do, personally, so there's different brands that make their own version of these card holder protectors. This one is from a brand called Ultimate. Now let me show you here. This is the one from Ultimate, and this one comes from BCW. Now while they look the same, if you look at here on camera, you'll kind of notice there is a significant size difference. The one from BCW is a lot bigger. I personally like the bigger ones. It gives me more space to work with. So the one from Ultimate, it's smaller. I feel like you have to cram the card in a little harder, but regardless which one you prefer, you want to make sure you kind of loosen it up a little bit with your fingers, just so it has space. Again, you never want to be at a point where you're cramming the card in. And once it's like that there, kind of hold the sides so it gives it a little air pocket, as you can see. And then that card should slide in real nice and firm, like such as so. And then you've got your card in there. And that is pretty secure. If you move it, the card doesn't move. But like I said, I personally prefer to have ones that are a little bit bigger. That's just what I like. So I'll show you there. Same thing. Prior, you want to get those two fingers in, kind of loosen it up a bit. Make sure it has space. Again, you never want to be at a point where you're cramming the card in. And once I kind of have my little pocket there, as you can see, so sorry there, see, got my little pocket right there. Slide that card in there real nice. And I've got my card in there, perfectly protected. I can move it over just a tad bit for y'all. And then you can kind of see there's lots of space in between the card and the plastic, and that's what you want. And this is actually what PSA prefers, the company that does the grading of cards. When you submit your cards to them, they prefer something like this. Now, there is something called a top holder, and I'll show you what that is right now. So let me go ahead and take this out. So this is a top holder. So obviously, one of the big differences you're going to notice is the ridges on this are a lot thicker, okay? So if we take a look at something like this, this is a lot more flimsy, much more movable. But when I'm looking at something like this, my edges are much thicker, and it's not as bendable this way, okay? Now, you want to do the same thing when you have these, when you get them new. You want to just kind of get your finger or two in there, 3, whatever, just to kind of loosen it up a bit. Again, you never want to be cramming the card in. And once it has that space there, you just slide that card right on in there. And you got it like that. Now, why does PSA prefer these over these? So while this may look sturdier and may be better just for travel purposes, these actually do a better job by not having the card move. If you look at this card here, I'll shake it. can't hear anything. But the cards in this can move over time a little more is what I've noticed, especially if you're moving them in and out. So if you're going to just be storing your cards, putting them away, and your goal is to sell, I would put them in these and then just put them in a secure place. That's what I personally would recommend. Now, these are the kinds that you want to avoid at all costs. I got this recently because I had purchased a card from somebody. Oh boy, dropped it. Give me one sec, guys. I'll keep that in there just to show mistakes happen when you film. So it's these little plastic cases, and I'll show you how they look. So I'll go ahead and take my card out to show you an example, this Pete Rose. So we've got this little casing like this, such as so, and it locks in. The problem with these types of cases, and I'll show you right now, I'll put my card in here. I'll put this such as so, and it kind of goes in there real nice and snugged, and that looks pretty good. All right, it's kind of in there. The problem with this is I noticed, I don't know if you can hear it on, let me see if I can make it. Do you hear that? That little ch-ch. That's actually the card moving around in there. That's because there's adequate space for the card to move. And I tried earlier, let me see again, to put the card in this type of casing with the penny sleeve, and it did not seem to work. So if I get the card here, put it back into that penny sleeve, let's see if I could put this card into this casing with the penny sleeve, and let's see if it'll work to protect it. Because I tried earlier and it didn't seem to fully. So this time it seems to work. So maybe if you're going to do something like this, okay, that looks a little better. But maybe if you're going to do something like this, you put a penny sleeve on first, then you do it. My only fear with something like this is if you're not careful, because it has more of a clamp. If you've got like an edge and that edge is slightly over, and then when you clamp it like this, it's a great way to damage your edge. Because let's say you put the card in like this, as you can see here, and I put this over it, and let's just say there's part of the card is slightly on the edge because this is a clamp form. As you can hear, it kind of clamps. If a part of my card's edge is on there and I clamp it, it's a great way to damage it. And I guess if you put it in the penny sleeve, it can work. I tried it earlier, it didn't seem to, but this seems okay. But I don't think this is the best bet. There's a reason PSA doesn't recommend, let me rephrase that. There's a reason PSA doesn't request you put your card in something like this when you send it. And I rarely, when I've been to card shows or dealt with professionals, I don't really see these. I'll normally see cards in something like this or in something like this. This would be my go-to. Put the card in this, put it somewhere secure. That would be my preference, truthfully speaking. And yeah, those are my little recommendations. Again, I would truthfully avoid something like this. And then let me show you one of the biggest things to avoid that we, when we were younger, thought was good. Putting your cards in these types of binders, right? So I got cards here from when I was a youth. And, you know, when you're a youth, we throw our cards in these big binders and we stack them up. And what happens with something like this one isn't as stacked, it could be stacked more, let me rephrase it like that. But the cards actually get damaged in these, especially because they move around, they shake. They're not really secure. So I know, you know, as kids, we're told put them in these sheets where we flip them. They're not the best things to be using. What you can actually do, I met a guy recently, it was kind of neat. There's actually binders like that will actually allow you to take these types of cards or even these. So you can have the sheets to flip, but the sheets still allow you the ability to put it in something like this and then put it in. I would avoid, let me show you the ones I'm talking about. The ones I would avoid using are the traditional ones. Let's see if I could just find an empty one here. I got so many cards in my casing here. Give me one moment, y'all. Be patient with me. I'm going to take one out for you guys just to let you see. So these types of cases. So as you can see here, when I was young, I collected cards and I stuck them in these types of cases. Sometimes I'd put the penny sleeves on like I did with this Jason Kidd here, but sometimes I didn't. And again, these overall, I would not recommend you putting your cards into those. I just don't suggest doing it, just based off what I've seen and dealt with people in the card industry. So those are my recommendations. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. What do you recommend and why? I'd like to see you soon.